Hey, this is Jordan at Battlehawk Armory here with Evan. Today we're going to talk a little bit about competitive shooting. So first, Evan, why don't you tell us a little bit about what competitive shooting is?
So really, competitive shooting is a very wide envelope. You can do pistols, rimfire guns, shotguns, a combination of all of those things, precision bolt action guns, carbines. Really, competitive shooting is a huge field, a huge sport that you could get into and really take out any style of firearm that you have now that you like to shoot and become more proficient with it.
So basically, whatever you have, you can bring it out and run it.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. Something like Steel Challenge or IDPA and even some of the multi-gun stuff to a certain extent is scored purely on time. So the amount of time it takes you to shoot whatever that course of fire is, that is your score. Should you have some penalties due to, insufficient shots or shooting things you're not supposed to, those penalties are going to be assessed to you as a time penalty as well. So that would be something called time plus, essentially. That's a very common method of scoring. The other most popular method of scoring is something called hit factor.
Okay.
So what that is that's an expression of both your accuracy and your time combined into a single score. So the way they do that is it is every round on a target is assigned a point value. Usually you'll see the center will be an A. That'll be worth 5 points. C's are going to be the next scoring ring out, 3 points, and then a delta, a D, the next one on the very edge is going to be 1 point. No shoots, misses, those will subtract 10 points from your score. So at the end of a stage, we look at all of the targets, we score all of your hits, we convert those hits into the appropriate points, and then we divide those points by your time. Now, the little bit of weirdness there is if you are shooting higher caliber firearms, they would call that major power factor. There's a way that that's calculated as well. But basically, if you are shooting, say, a 45 ACP in some of those games, your hits will be assigned a higher point value to, again, kind of make things a little bit more equal across the board.
I see, and you're also not entirely handicapping yourself by bringing a larger caliber because it's calculated in a way that would actually assist you compete with someone using a 9mm.
Absolutely. So essentially, it's a scoring allowance for those shooting a higher caliber, because obviously you're more likely going to have more felt recoil and reduced capacity. So because you have those handicaps, if you will, they're going to give you more points for your hits as well.
And then why would you say you should compete and you should go out and do these matches and stuff? Like, what do you gain from it, and what are the benefits?
So we think that there's a lot of benefits to getting out and shooting in a dynamic setting. So first of all, the training that you're going to get as far as moving and shooting sometimes moving targets, just the dynamic experience that you're going to have at a shooting event is going to be vastly different. It's going to expose you to a much higher difficulty level and really test your marksmanship. Not only that, targets are going to be out farther. They're going to be smaller. So again, you're going to see target presentations that you normally wouldn't be comfortable with, which is only going to make you better. Until you really start to get into those dynamic scenarios, you're shooting at the absolute limits of how fast you or your firearm can go. You really don't start to notice some of the perks and or pitfalls of these platforms. So it's going to help you shake out your gear, determine, what really are the limits? How do these things work? Is this really the appropriate amount of eye relief? Do I actually like this firearm, this optic, this ammunition? It just helps you test things and have a greater degree of confidence in your gear.
It's pretty easy to be mindful of other individuals when you're on a flat range and there's a firing line that nobody crosses. But it's a little different when you're out moving around and you have to keep in mind that there are still individuals behind you that you have to be mindful of the entire time, and that's why they have that 180 rule. What would you say is some gear you would need? Like, what's absolutely essential and what's some good stuff to get?
Really, as long as you have that firearm, you've got some ammo, you're all set. A holster would be an essential for IDPA or USPSA. And for a rifle, really, even just iron sights will get you shooting. Our big recommendation is figure out a gun, a game, and just take what you have. There's no need to run out and buy X, Y, or Z. Anything will work, and you're gonna be able to immediately get out there, get playing, and start learning about the equipment capabilities and your own. All right, so talking about competition shooting is great, but what's even better than that is actually doing it. So what we are gonna do next is we are going to get out there ourselves. We are gonna run through some competitions. And then after that, we're gonna come back in the studio. We're gonna talk about how it went for us. We're also gonna talk you through our personal gear setups and kind of wrap things up for the day.
All right, sounds good. All right, we are back from the range, and I'm here with Ian, and we're just going to go over our setups that we ran at the match to kind of tell you about why we chose them and what we learned about them. So if you want to go first, go ahead.
Yeah. All right, so I was using my Patriot Ordnance Factory Minuteman with a 1-6 EOTech Voodoo, and then doing our little pistol round at the end of the match, I was using the Accuracy XD1 Delta. I'm still pretty new to this, so I don't really have the greatest idea of what I do and don't like. Right now, I just kind of like everything. I just like going out and shooting. So, number one thing I learned is to pay attention during the stage breakdowns before you start shooting. I think I ended the day with 9 penalties, and that just absolutely tanked my score at the end of it.
But going over mine, I kind of wanted to try out some stuff that I tend to carry fairly frequently. So I have here a P320 X-Compact Legion in a Flux Defense frame with a Thunder Beast Fly 9 suppressor in the short configuration, so there's another maybe 3, probably 2 inches that add on to that to add a couple more baffles. And at the time of shooting, I actually had a Vortex Venom red dot on this, and that is one of the things that I noticed that I wanted to change. Obviously, I have a 6-hour Romeo 4H on it now. Mainly I noticed that, well, I brought a pistol to a rifle match, first of all, and then reaching out to 100 yards with a pistol is already fairly difficult. The red dot being I think it's a 3.5 MOA, definitely didn't help just having a single dot without any other information in there, because the drop with a 9mm at 100 yards is considerable. So like I said, I wanted to run stuff that I carry on a daily basis. So I have a Glock 19 Gen 4 that I run in a IWB holster. Main thing I noticed with that is that I'm very spoiled with red dots and have kind of atrophied my ability to shoot with iron sights. So I definitely need to shoot with irons more and kind of regain that capability. But other than that, it was pretty good. I mean, my favorite stage was probably the mandatory reload, actually. So I thought I felt pretty slick on that one, but not slick enough, apparently.
My favorite stage by far was the one where you started right in front of those 2 targets. So you could just step into the box, pretty much barrel stuff them, shoot twice, and run, and that whole V pattern right there, all the targets were set up right outside the shooting area.
You could almost touch them.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
so I would just like
them, yeah.
run up to them as fast as I could. I'm not very fast. I'm actually pretty slow, but as fast as I could.
I got about as close as I could to avoid any loss of points that I could, because I needed all the help I could get.
Some of my personal gear that I was using this weekend. For my rifle, we'll start at the rear. I have a custom built rifle that I built myself. Magpul STR stock. In the buffer tube, I have a JP Silent Capture spring. I have a JP low mass bolt carrier, Timney Calvin Elite trigger. I've got a Faxon match barrel with an adjustable gas block on it. I was running the Huxworks Flow 556K, and on top I have a 2 optic combo, Trijicon AccuPoint 1:6. It does have a mil reticle, and for my 45-degree optic I have a Steiner MPS, and this is all in a Reptilia mount. So that was my rifle setup, and for my handgun I was running a SIG AXG Legion. This is mostly a stock pistol. The only things that I've done is I added some Lock Palm Swell G10 grips on here, a Surefire X300 so it's compatible with my Safariland ALS retention holster, and a SIG Romeo 1 Pro in 6 MOA, and then I do have one Terran extension so I can fit 23 rounds in that first mag. So that was my gear that I was running. So as far as things that I learned from these particular competitions, again, I've been doing this for about 10 years now that I've been shooting competitively, so there's not a whole lot new, but I'm constantly trying out new gear, trying to push myself and my gear to the next level to see what's capable. So not anything really revelatory, but one thing that is new to me is the offset mount. So this is not something that I've ever actually run before the match that we shot this previous weekend. And if you haven't already noticed, I am a left-handed shooter. So one of the things that very quickly became obvious was that shooting that offset mount with my left-handedness put that ejection port facing directly into my forearm. So I was eating brass to the forearm all day anytime I was shooting this Steiner MPS for an offset. However, it was really nice to have because I could leave my primary optic zoomed up to whatever magnification I needed for some of the stages and still have a 1x available without having to twist my magnification lever. So learned something new there. The Huxworks Flow 556, this was the first time I've run this suppressor at a competition, and it was pretty awesome having the flow through. Usually, again, being left-handed, even with an adjustable gas block, I get a fair amount of gas and debris to the face, so having this flow through suppressor up top was really awesome. I really appreciated that, especially running some of the longer courses of fire, shooting a little bit faster, things that would otherwise normally bother me to a pretty high amount. And as far as things with my handgun, we just ran that one quick course of fire just to kind of show, you know, what a hit factor pistol match would look like. I've been shooting this handgun for a little while now. I essentially have no notes. This thing is awesome. The Palm Swell grips on here, if you haven't tried Palm Swell grips before, are sensational. I can get a really good squeeze on this pistol. Optic is optic, and with this alloy frame, just the way it sits in my hand, I can really shoot this thing with a high degree of accuracy at a pretty good speed. So I'm really liking the SIG AXG Legion quite a bit.
I think that's about all for today. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys learned something. We definitely did.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have any questions about anything that we covered in this video today, go ahead and leave a comment down below. We'll try to get back to you as best we can. If you have any suggestions about what you want to see next, again, you can leave that in the comments below. If you like this content and want to see more of it, make sure that you like us on Instagram, follow us on X, and subscribe to the YouTube channel here. There's lots more content to come. We hope to see you guys out at the range sometime soon. Thanks again.